Hyun-woo stepped off the transport ship and into Threshold 7 station. The air smelled different here. It was a mix of 100 worlds, 100 species, all breathing and living in the same metal corridors. He carried only one bag. Inside were his clothes, some books, and a small photo of his family back on Earth. He was here to help people understand each other. That was his job. The station was massive. Humans called it a frontier trading hub. But it was more than that. It was where the galaxy met to do business, to talk, to argue, and sometimes to fight. Hyun-woo walked through the main corridor and watched the aliens move past him. There were tall ones with 6 arms. There were small ones that floated. There were ones covered in scales, and others covered in fur. Then he saw them. The Kethrans. They looked like lions that had learned to walk on 2 legs. Their fur was golden and thick. Their eyes were sharp and yellow. They moved like predators. Even when they were just walking to get food, everyone stepped aside when they passed. Fear and respect mixed together in the air around them. Hyun-woo had read about the Kethrans before coming here. They were warriors, the best fighters in the galaxy. Their culture was old and strict. They had rules for everything. Honor was the most important thing to them. Strength was second. Kindness was not on the list. 2 days after arriving, Hyun-woo was eating lunch in the common area. It was a big open space where anyone could come to eat and rest. The food vendors lined the walls, each selling dishes from different worlds. He was trying something purple and sweet. When he heard the shouting, a small Kethran cub stood in front of a food vendor. The vendor was a Tillian, a species with blue skin and 4 eyes. The cub was maybe 7 years old by human standards. Her fur was lighter than the adults, more cream than gold. "Give food," the cub said. Her voice was hard. It was a command, not a request. The Tillian vendor's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "You must wait in line, young one. Give food now," the cub repeated. She did not understand why this creature was not obeying. Another cub appeared beside her. This one was slightly taller, male, with darker fur around his face. "We require food. You will provide it," he said. The Tillian's skin changed color slightly, turning more purple. Hyun-woo knew this meant frustration. The vendor looked around, clearly uncomfortable. Other customers were watching. Some were backing away. Hyun-woo stood up. He walked over slowly, keeping his movements calm and open. "Hello," he said to the cubs. "My name is Hyun-woo. I am new here." The 2 cubs turned to look at him. Their eyes were bright and curious, but also wary. The male cub spoke first. "You are human, yes? What are your names?" The female cub tilted her head. "I am Somin. This is Taejin. We are Kethran. It is nice to meet you both," Hyun-woo said. He smiled. Then he turned to the Tillian vendor. "Excuse me. Please. Could I have 3 of those green meals?" "Thank you." The Tillian relaxed immediately. "Of course, friend. Right away." The vendor quickly prepared 3 containers and handed them over. Hyun-woo paid and then offered 2 containers to the cubs. "Would you like to share lunch with me?" Unquote. Somin and Taejin looked at each other. Then they looked at the food. Then back at Hyun-woo. Slowly, they each took a container. "Why did he give you food?" Taejin asked. "You did not command him." Hyun-woo led them to a table away from the crowd. They sat down together. "I asked nicely," he said. "I said please and thank you, please." Somin repeated slowly. The word felt strange in her mouth. "What is please?" "It is a word that shows respect," Hyun-woo explained. "When you say please, you are telling someone that you value them. You are asking for help, not demanding it." Taejin frowned. "But we are Kethran. Others should obey us." "Why?" Hyun-woo asked gently. The question confused both cubs. They looked at each other again. Because we are strong, Tae-jin finally said. That is true. Kethrans are very strong, Hyun-woo agreed. But strength can be shown in many ways. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is ask instead of demand. It shows you are confident. It shows you do not fear being kind. So-min ate a bite of her food. She chewed thoughtfully. Our father never says please. No adult Kethran does. Different cultures have different words, Hyun-woo said. But I think all cultures understand respect. Please is just one way to show it. They ate in silence for a while. Hyun-woo watched the station move around them. He saw a Kethran adult watching from across the room. The adult was massive, with scars across his arms and a commander's badge on his chest. His eyes were locked on the cubs. Hyun-woo pretended not to notice. Will you teach us? So-min asked suddenly. Teach us, please? Hyun-woo looked at her. She was leaning forward, her yellow eyes bright with interest. Tae-jin was watching too, trying to look less interested than he was. If you want to learn, I will teach you, Hyun-woo said. But you must practice. Words only work if you use them. We will practice, Tae-jin said firmly. Over the next hour, Hyun-woo taught them the basics. Please when you ask for something. Thank you when you receive something. Excuse me when you need someone's attention. The cubs repeated the words over and over. They practiced on each other first. Tae-jin, may I have that napkin, please? So-min said. Tae-jin handed it to her. Here, say you are welcome, Hyun-woo prompted. You are welcome, Tae-jin said. They practiced with the Tillian vendor next. So-min walked up to the counter, and Hyun-woo could see her gathering courage. Excuse me, please, she said. Her voice was quieter than before. May I have water? The Tillian's eyes widened. All four of them. Then the vendor smiled, showing small blue teeth. Of course, little one. Here you go. Thank you, So-min said. She took the water and walked back to Hyun-woo. Her tail was swishing back and forth. She was proud. Tae-jin went next. He was more awkward, but he managed. Please. Can I have water too? Thank you. The Tillian looked at Hyun-woo. What magic is this, human? Hyun-woo laughed. No magic. Just manners. The cubs returned to the table. They were excited now, talking to each other in their own language. Hyun-woo caught words here and there. They were planning to practice more. The Kethran commander was still watching. He started walking toward them. Hyun-woo stood up. The commander stopped in front of the table. Up close, he was even more intimidating. His muscles had muscles. His claws were visible at the tips of his fingers. He looked down at the cubs. Tae-jin, So-min, it is time to return. Yes, father, they said together. The commander's eyes shifted to Hyun-woo. They stared at each other for a long moment. Hyun-woo did not look away, but he kept his posture, respectful. You are the new human liaison, the commander said. I am. I am Commander Velmoth. These are my cubs. They are very intelligent, Hyun-woo said. It was nice to meet them. Velmoth's eyes narrowed slightly. What were you teaching them? Just some human words, Commander. Please, thank you, excuse me. Ways to show respect. Kethrans do not need human words. Of course not, Hyun-woo said calmly. But words are bridges. They help us understand each other, Velmoth grunted. It was not agreement, but it was not complete disapproval either. He turned to his cubs. Come. So-min and Tae-jin stood up. But before they left, So-min turned to Hyun-woo. Thank you for teaching us, she said. Please. Can we learn more tomorrow? Hyun-woo saw Velmoth's expression shift. Surprise. Maybe. Or concern. If your father allows it, Hyun-woo said. Velmoth looked at his daughter for a long moment. Then he nodded once. We will see. He walked away, and the cubs followed. Hyun-woo sat back down. He finished his meal slowly. Around him, the station continued its busy life. Aliens of all kinds moved and talked and lived. And somewhere in that crowd, two small Kethran cubs were learning that strength was not the only thing that mattered. The word please was simple, just 6 letters, one syllable. But Hyun-woo had learned long ago that simple things could change worlds. He hoped he was right. He hoped this was the beginning of something good. Tomorrow, the real lessons would begin. 3 weeks had passed since that first meeting. Hyun-woo had settled into his small quarters on Threshold 7. Every morning, he woke up to the sound of ships docking and leaving. The station never slept. Neither did his work. The cubs came to see him almost every day. They told their father they were exploring the station. This was not a lie. Exactly. They were exploring. They were just exploring human ideas instead of corridors. Today, Hyun-woo sat in the learning center. It was a room that Ji-won had set up for young aliens who lived on the station. Ji-won was another human, a teacher with endless patience and bright eyes. She had arrived on Threshold 7 2 years before Hyun-woo. "They are here again," Ji-won said, smiling as she looked at the door. Taejin and So-min entered quietly. They had learned to move differently around Hyun-woo. Less like young predators, and more like curious students. "Good morning, Hyun-woo," So-min said. "Good morning, Ji-won. Please, may we practice today?" Taejin added. Hyun-woo felt warm inside. They were using the words naturally now. "Of course. Come, sit down." The learning center had low tables and soft cushions. Other young aliens were scattered around the room. There was a small Vexian with purple skin, reading a datapad. 2 Hullian twins were building something with blocks. A young Orinth was drawing pictures with all 3 of its hands. Minho walked in carrying a box. He was Hyun-woo's colleague, a linguist who loved languages the way some people loved music. His hair was messy, and his eyes were tired. He had been up late studying again. "I brought something for you," Minho said to the cubs. He opened the box and pulled out small devices. They looked like earpieces. "These are translators, but I modified them. They will help you understand why please works." Taejin picked one up carefully. "How?" "Put it on. Then listen when someone speaks. It will show you not just the words, but the feeling behind them." The cubs attached the devices to their ears. Hyun-woo spoke first. "So-min, please pass me that book." So-min's eyes went wide. "I can feel it. The respect. The asking. It is like you are saying, 'I have a choice.'" "Exactly," Minho said. "That is what please does. It acknowledges the other person's freedom. In Kethran culture, you have formal speech between warriors, but that is about honor and rank. Please is different. It is about recognizing someone as an equal." Taejin removed his translator. "We do not see others as equals. We are taught that there are strong and weak." "And which one do you want to be?" Hyun-woo asked. "Strong, of course. Then be strong enough to respect the weak. Anyone can demand. Only the truly strong can ask." The cubs looked at each other. They did this often, Hyun-woo had noticed. They spoke without words, just with glances and small movements. It was their own language, learned from years together. "We want to practice," So-min said finally. "Practice with real situations." Burning. Ji-won clapped her hands together. "Perfect. I have an idea." She set up a game. The young aliens in the room would work together to build a tower using different colored blocks. But each alien could only touch blocks of one color. They had to ask each other for help. The Vexian child went first. "Please, can you give me a blue block?" One of the Hullian twins handed it over. "Here you go." "Thank you." It was simple. It was beautiful. Hyun-woo watched as the cubs joined in. At first, they were stiff and formal. But slowly, they relaxed. They started to understand. "Taejin, please. I need a red block," So-min said. "Which one?" Taejin asked. "The big one." "Thank you. You are welcome." The tower grew taller. The children laughed when it wobbled. They cheered when it stayed standing. And through it all, they said please and thank you. The words became a rhythm, a song of cooperation. An hour later, the other children left with their parents. Tae-jin and So-min stayed behind. They helped Ji-won clean up the blocks. "You are learning fast," Ji-won said. "I am impressed. It feels good," So-min admitted. "When Ta-jin says please to me, I feel respected. I want to help him. That is the point," Hyun-woo said. "Respect creates cooperation. Cooperation creates strength." Min-ho sat down at one of the tables. He pulled out his datapad and started typing. "I have been studying your language. Catherine has no direct word for please, but it has something close. A phrase used between warriors of equal rank. It translates roughly to, 'I acknowledge your strength.' We know that phrase," Tae-jin said. "It is very formal. We only use it in ceremonies. What if you made a new phrase?" Min-ho suggested. "Something just for young Catherines. A way to show respect to each other." The cub's eyes lit up. "A secret code," So-min whispered. "Not secret from everyone," Hyun-woo said quickly. "But special. Something that means you are part of a group that values respect." Over the next week, the cubs worked on their idea. They started using please with other young Catherines on the station. There were not many, only 5 others. But those 5 were curious. Hyun-woo watched from a distance as So-min approached a young Catherine male named Dong-sik. Dong-sik was bigger than So-min, older by a year or 2. He was eating alone in the common area. "Excuse me, please," So-min said. "May I sit here?" Dong-sik stared at her. "What is wrong with you? Why are you speaking like that?" "I am being respectful," So-min said. She sat down anyway. "It is something I learned from a human. Humans are weak. Humans are clever. They know how to make friends with everyone. Is that not a strength?" Dong-sik did not answer, but he did not tell her to leave either. So-min pulled out her food and started eating. After a few minutes, she spoke again. "Please, will you tell me about your family? I would like to know." Dong-sik looked uncomfortable. But slowly, he started talking. He told her about his parents, both warriors. He told her about his training. He told her that he was lonely on the station because other young Catherines did not want to be friends. They only wanted to compete. "Thank you for telling me," So-min said when he finished. "That was brave." Dong-sik's expression softened. "This, please word, does it really work? Try it. See what happens. See what happens. See what happens. See what happens." By the end of the month, all 7 young Catherines on the station were using please with each other. They created their own version in their language. It was a clicking sound, followed by a soft growl. It meant "I respect you and I ask, not demand." They used it like a secret signal. When one cub said it to another, it meant they were part of the same group. A group that believed strength and kindness could exist together. Hyun-woo met with the cubs one evening in the observation deck. It was a quiet place, with a large window showing the stars outside. They sat together and watched ships pass by. "Other species are noticing," Tae-jin said. "The Tillian vendor gave me extra food today. She said I was the politest Catherine she had ever met." So-min laughed. "The Hullian mechanics let me watch them work. They said I could learn because I asked nicely." "Your father has noticed too," Hyun-woo said carefully. "I saw him watching you yesterday." The cubs became quiet. "He has not said anything," So-min said. "But he looks at us differently, like he is trying to understand." "Is he angry?" Tae-jin asked. "I do not think so. I think he is curious. Maybe even a little proud." "We do not want to dishonor him," So-min said softly. "We do not want to dishonor our people." Hyun-woo turned to face them. "Listen to me. You are not dishonoring anyone. You are growing. You are learning that there are many ways to be strong. Your father is a great warrior. He knows the strength of combat. You can know the strength of peace. Both are needed. Quote. Do you really believe that? Taejin asked. I do. The galaxy is changing. There will always be a need for warriors. But there will also be a need for diplomats, for bridge builders, for people who can make peace. You can be both. You can be Kethran warriors who also know how to say please. The cubs leaned against each other, taking comfort in their closeness. Outside, the stars burned bright and cold. Inside, something new was growing. Something that started with a simple word but was becoming much more. Ji-won appeared at the door. There you are. Hyunwoo. Minho wants to show you something. They all walked back to the learning center. Minho had his datapad projected on the wall. It showed a chart. A language map. Look at this, Minho said excitedly. I have been tracking language patterns on the station. In the last 3 weeks, conflicts between Kethran cubs and other species have dropped by 70%. 70%. And it all started when they began using courtesy words. It is working, Ji-won said, smiling. It is more than working, Minho said. It is spreading. I heard a young Orinth use the word please yesterday. In Orinth. Their language never had that concept before. Hyunwoo felt hope bloom in his chest. This was bigger than he had thought. The cubs were not just learning manners. They were starting a movement. What happens when the adults find out? So Min asked quietly. It was the question they were all thinking. What would happen when the adult Kethrans realized their cubs were changing? Would they stop it? Would they punish them? We will face that when it comes, Hyunwoo said. For now, keep learning. Keep practicing. Keep being brave. The cubs nodded. They left together, their tails swishing with determination. Ji-won put a hand on Hyunwoo's shoulder. You started something beautiful. Or something dangerous, Hyunwoo said. I am not sure which yet. Maybe both, Minho said. All beautiful things are a little dangerous. That night, Hyunwoo lay in his bed and thought about the future. The cubs were happy. They were making friends. They were learning that the galaxy was bigger than they had been taught. But their happiness depended on the adults allowing this to continue. Commander Velmoth was the key. If he supported his cubs, others might follow. If he forbade it, the whole thing would end. Hyunwoo closed his eyes and hoped he had not made a terrible mistake. But when he remembered So-min's smile and Taejin's pride, he thought, maybe, just maybe, it would all be worth it. The secret lessons continued. The summons came early in the morning. A Kethran messenger appeared at Hyunwoo's door, tall and stern. The message was simple. Commander Velmoth requested his presence in the Kethran diplomatic quarters. Immediately, Hyunwoo dressed quickly. His hands shook slightly as he fastened his jacket. He had known this moment would come. He just hoped he was ready for it. The Kethran quarters were in the upper section of the station, where the air was warmer and smelled of something spicy. Kethran incense, Hyunwoo guessed. The walls were decorated with weapons and banners. Everything spoke of war and glory. Commander Velmoth waited in a large room. He stood with his back straight, his arms crossed. His expression was unreadable. Beside him stood 3 other adult Kethrans. They all looked at Hyunwoo with hard eyes. Thank you for coming, Velmoth said. His voice was controlled, but Hyunwoo could hear the tension underneath. Of course, Commander. How can I help you? Velmoth walked forward. He was so much larger than Hyunwoo. So much stronger. But Hyunwoo kept his breathing steady. Fear would not help him now. My cubs have changed, Velmoth said. They speak differently. They act differently. They use human words. They are learning, Hyunwoo said carefully. Learning is not a bad thing. Learning what? To be weak? To ask instead of command? You are making them soft. One of the other Kethrans stepped forward. She was female, with silver streaks in her golden fur. Our cubs are warriors. They do not need to say please. They need to be strong. Hyunwoo took a breath. With respect, strength comes in many forms. Your cubs are still strong, but now they are also learning diplomacy. They are learning to make allies instead of just fighting enemies. Allies, Velmoth repeated. The word sounded bitter in his mouth. We have allies. We make allies through strength. Through showing we are powerful. And how many species truly trust Kethrans? Hyunwoo asked. The question was bold. Perhaps too bold. But he needed to make them understand. How many see you as friends instead of threats? The room went silent. The Kethrans looked at each other. Velmoth's jaw tightened. You overstep, human. I apologize if I have offended you. That was not my intention. I only want to help. Help! Another Kethran male said. He was older, with scars across his face. You want to destroy our culture. You want to make us into weak creatures like yourself. I am not trying to destroy anything, Hyunwoo said. I am trying to build understanding between our species. Velmoth raised a hand. The other Kethrans fell silent. He walked to a window and looked out at the station beyond. My daughter came to me yesterday. She asked me, please, if she could stay up late to study. Please. A word I have never heard from her before. He turned back to Hyunwoo. I did not know how to respond. In our culture, cubs do not ask. They obey, or they challenge. There is no middle ground. But So-min was not obeying and she was not challenging. She was something else, something new. What did you do? Hyunwoo asked. I said yes, and do you know what she said? She said thank you. Then she hugged me. Velmoth's voice became quieter. She has not hugged me since she was very small. The female Kethran spoke again, but her voice was less harsh now. Is this what please does? It makes our cubs soft and affectionate? It makes them able to express care, Hyunwoo said. Kethran cubs love their parents, yes? Please and thank you, give them a way to show it without seeming weak. We are not weak, the scarred male growled. I know that. Everyone knows that. But being strong all the time is exhausting. Even warriors need to rest. Even warriors need connection. Velmoth sat down heavily. It was the first time Hyunwoo had seen him look tired. Other cubs are learning this too. 7 young Kethrans on this station, all using human words. Parents are talking. Some are angry. Some are confused. And some are hopeful. Hyunwoo said. I have seen it. Some Kethran adults watch their cubs make friends with other species and they wonder. They wonder if maybe there is a better way. The female Kethran shook her head. If we allow this, we betray our ancestors. We betray everything we are. Or you honor them. Hyunwoo said. Your ancestors were survivors. They adapted. They became strong because they learned and grew. This is the same. You are not abandoning your culture. You are adding to it. Before anyone could respond, an alarm blared through the station. Red lights flashed. A voice came through the communication system, speaking in the common trade language. All personnel, report to stations. Incident in progress. Repeat. Incident in progress. Velmoth was on his feet immediately. So were the other Kethrans. They moved like trained soldiers, fast and coordinated. Hyunwoo followed them out into the corridor. The station was in chaos. People ran in different directions. Security personnel rushed past. Hyunwoo grabbed one of them. A human guard he knew. What happened? Fight in the lower levels. Kethran warriors and a group of Hravian traders. Someone insulted someone. It escalated. Fast. Velmoth heard this. His expression darkened. Where are my cubs? They were in the learning center, Hyunwoo said. With G1. They should be safe there. I will check on them. You 3, come with me. Velmoth pointed at the other Kethrans. They followed him without question. Hyunwoo ran toward the lower levels. He needed to see what was happening. He needed to understand. The fight was in a cargo bay. 2 Kethran warriors stood on one side, claws out, teeth bared. 5 Hravians stood on the other side. Hravians were reptilian, with thick scales and powerful tails. They were not as strong as Kethrans, but they were dangerous in groups. Station security was trying to separate them, but it was not working. Every time someone got close, both sides would lash out. Blood was on the floor. Both Kethran and Hravian blood. Then Hyun Woo saw something that made his heart stop. The cubs were there. All 7 of them. They were standing between the fighters and the security forces. Taejin stepped forward. He was small compared to the adult warriors, but he stood tall. "Please, stop fighting," he said loudly. One of the Kethran warriors looked down at him. "Move aside. Cub. This is warrior business. Please," Somin added, standing beside her brother. "We can solve this without blood. We can talk." The other young Kethrans joined in. They all said please. They all asked for peace. And slowly, incredibly, the adults stopped. Not because they were afraid of the cubs, not because they were commanded, but because the cubs were showing them something different, something unexpected. Dong-sik, the older cub, spoke to the Hravians in their own language. He had been learning it in the learning center. "Please, honored traders, tell us what happened. We will listen. We will help." One of the Hravians lowered his weapon. "Your warriors insulted our goods, called them trash, demanded we give them for free. Is this true?" Taejin asked the Kethran warriors. The warriors looked uncomfortable. One of them nodded. "Their goods are inferior. We should not have to pay full price." "But did you ask politely?" Somin asked. "Or did you demand?" Silence. The answer was clear. "Please," Somin said to the warriors. "Apologize. Show that Kethrans can be honorable in trade, not just in battle." The warriors looked shocked. A female warrior, young but fierce, stared at Somin. "You ask us to apologize? To show weakness?" "I ask you to show strength," Somin replied. "The strength to admit a mistake." "Is that not what honor truly is?" Velmoth arrived then. He pushed through the crowd and stopped when he saw his cubs. His face went through several expressions. Shock, pride, fear. He looked at Hyun Woo, who had appeared beside him. "They learned this from you," Velmoth said. "They learned to think for themselves," Hyun Woo replied. "I just gave them the words." The young female warrior looked at Commander Velmoth. "What should we do, Commander?" Every eye turned to him. This was the moment that would decide everything. If Velmoth supported his cubs, change could happen. If he sided with tradition, the cubs would be silenced. Velmoth walked forward. He stood beside his cubs. Then he did something no one expected. He turned to the Hravians and spoke in their language. "Please, forgive our rudeness. We acted without honor. We should have shown respect." The silence was deafening. A Kethran commander had said please, had apologized, had shown what some might call weakness. The lead Hravian's eyes widened. Then he smiled, showing sharp teeth. "We accept your apology. And we apologize too. For drawing weapons so quickly. Perhaps we can discuss price fairly? Please?" The tension broke. People started breathing again. The fight was over. Later, in the learning center, Hyun Woo sat with Ji-won and Min-ho. The cubs were there too, along with their parents. Even the skeptical female Kethran had come. Velmoth stood in front of them all. Today, cubs showed adults how to avoid war. They used words the human taught them. Please. A simple word. But it saved lives. He looked at Hyun Woo. "I was wrong. Not about everything. Our strength is still important. Our warrior traditions still matter. But my cubs showed me that we can be strong and kind. We can be warriors and peacemakers." The female Kethran stood up. "I am Bo-Ra's mother. I was angry when she started speaking like a human. But today, She helped stop a war. She made me proud. Other parents nodded. They were beginning to understand. Hyun-woo felt something release in his chest. Relief. Joy. Hope. The Cubs did this. Not me, he said. They took a simple idea and made it powerful. They created something new. Something that belongs to them. Taejin stepped forward. We call it the respect code. It is our promise to each other. To be strong but kind. To honor tradition but accept change. To be Kethrin but also be more. The respect code, Velmoth repeated. He looked at his son with clear pride. It is a good name. That night, the station council held an emergency meeting. Hae-won, the human ambassador, was there. She called Hyun-woo to speak. You have created something remarkable, she said. But also, something controversial. The Kethrin High Command has heard about this. They are not all pleased. What will they do? Hyun-woo asked. For now, nothing. Commander Velmoth sent them a report. He told them how Cubs stopped a war with words. That impressed them. But change is hard for proud species. There will be resistance. Hyun-woo nodded. He had expected this. The Cubs are ready. They know this will not be easy. Are you ready? Hae-won asked. Because this is just the beginning. Hyun-woo looked out at the station. Somewhere out there, 7 young Kethrins were sleeping, dreaming of a future where they could be warriors and peacemakers at once. A future they were building. One word at a time. I am ready, he said. We all are. 6 months had changed everything. Hyun-woo stood in the observation deck and watched 3 Kethron transport ships dock at Threshold 7. Each one carried families, including Cubs. Word had spread across the Kethron territories. Parents wanted their Cubs to learn what the 7 on Threshold 7 had learned. Ji-won appeared beside him with 2 cups of tea. She handed one to Hyun-woo and smiled. 32 new Kethron Cubs arriving today. The learning center will need to expand. Can we handle that many? Hyun-woo asked. We have to. Look at what the first 7 accomplished. It was true. Taejin and So-min were no longer the small Cubs he had met 6 months ago. They were leaders now. They taught the new arrivals. They spread the respect code to every young Kethrin who would listen. The code had evolved. It was no longer just about saying please and thank you. It had become a philosophy. A way of life that combined Kethrin's strength with human empathy. The Cubs created their own ceremonies, their own traditions. They honored their ancestors while building something new. Dong-hyun arrived at the observation deck carrying his recording equipment. He was a sociologist from Earth, sent to study what was happening on Threshold 7. He had been documenting everything for 3 months. This is incredible, he said, watching the ship's dock. I have never seen a cultural shift happen this fast. Usually, it takes generations. But the Cubs are accelerating it. Because they are not afraid, Hyun-woo said. They do not carry the weight of tradition like their parents do. They can be free to choose. Down in the docking bay, the new families emerged. The Cubs looked around with wide eyes. Some were nervous. Some were excited. Their parents were more cautious, watching everything carefully. Velmoth stood at the entrance with his Cubs beside him. This was now tradition. The original 7 greeted every new arrival. They welcomed them. They showed them that change was not betrayal. Welcome to Threshold 7, So-min said to a small female Cub. What is your name? I am Yoonji. The Cub said quietly. It is nice to meet you, Yoonji. Please come with us. We will show you around. Taejin took another new Cub by the hand. You will like it here. We have friends from many worlds. It is exciting. Loeb set in. The parents watched. Some smiled, others frowned. Change was still hard for them. One father, a large warrior with battle scars, approached Velmoth. Is it true? Cubs here say please to their parents? They do, Velmoth confirmed. And parents say please to Cubs sometimes. It creates respect both ways. That is not how we were raised. No. But maybe it is how our cubs should be raised. The galaxy is changing. We must change with it, or be left behind. The scarred warrior thought about this. Then he nodded slowly. I will watch. I will see if this is good or bad for my son. That is all I ask, Velmoth said. In the learning center, the cubs gathered. The original 7 stood at the front. Behind them, Ji-1, Hyun-woo, and Min-ho watched with pride. So Min spoke first. We are the Respect Code. We are Kethran warriors who believe strength and kindness belong together. We honor our ancestors by being better than we were yesterday. The new cubs listened. Some nodded. Some looked confused. One small cub, barely 5 years old in human terms, raised his hand. Yes, Taejin said. What is please? The original 7 smiled. They had all asked that question once. Please is respect in sound form. Dongsik explained. He was taller now, more confident. When you say please, you tell someone that you see them, that you value them, that you ask for their help instead of demanding it. But we are strong, another new cub said. Why should we ask? Because strong people do not need to prove their strength every moment, Somin replied. We know we are strong, so we can choose to be kind. The lessons began. The new cubs practiced with the old ones. They learned please, and thank you, and excuse me. They learned to look at others as equals, not as lesser beings. They learned that friendship was its own kind of strength. Hyun-woo watched a small cub named Jae-sung approach one of the Hulian twins. Please, can you show me how to build with blocks? The Hulian child's face lit up. Yes. Come, I will teach you. They sat together, Kethran cub and Hulian child, building something together. It was a small moment. But small moments were changing the galaxy. Not everyone was happy about the changes. 3 weeks after the new arrivals, a delegation came from the Kethran High Command. 5 elders, all old warriors, with countless battles behind them. They came to see what was happening on Threshold 7. The meeting was held in the station council chambers. Velmoth stood on one side with the other Kethran parents. Hyun-woo and Hae-won represented the humans. The cubs waited outside, nervous but trying to be brave. The lead elder was named Karmoth. He was ancient, his fur gray, his eyes sharp despite his age. He spoke with a voice that commanded attention. We have heard disturbing reports. Kethran cubs using human words. Abandoning our traditions. Becoming soft and weak. With respect, elder, that is not true, Velmoth said. Evolving into what? Humans? Into Kethrans who can survive in a galaxy that no longer fears us but does not trust us either. Cubs who can make alliances through respect instead of just through force. Karmoth turned to Hyun-woo. This is your doing, human. I taught them a word, Hyun-woo said calmly. They created a movement. The cubs did this themselves. Show us, another elder demanded. Show us these cubs who think they can change thousands of years of tradition. The cubs were brought in. All 39 of them now. They stood together, the original 7 at the front. They looked small compared to the elders, but they did not look afraid. Karmoth stared at them. So, you are the ones who say please. We are the Respect Code, Taejin said. His voice was steady. We are Kethran warriors who believe in strength and kindness. Kindness is weakness. Is it? Somin asked. We stopped a war 6 months ago. We used words instead of claws. Is that weak? You stopped a fight, Karmoth corrected. Not a war. Every war starts with a fight, Yoonji said. She was one of the newer cubs, but she had learned fast. If we can stop fights with respect, we can stop wars. The elders looked at each other. They were not convinced. Karmoth walked forward. He stood in front of So-min. Tell me, cub, if someone insults your family, do you say please? No, So-min said. I defend my family. But first, I try to understand why they insulted us. Maybe there is a reason. Maybe there is a solution that does not require blood. And if there is no solution, then I fight. But I fight knowing I tried peace first. That is honor. Karmoth's expression was unreadable. He turned to the other elders. They spoke quietly in Old Kethran, a dialect the cubs did not fully understand. Finally, Karmoth turned back. We will allow this to continue. For now. But we will watch. If we see weakness, if we see our cubs becoming unable to defend themselves, we will end it. We are not weak, Taejin said firmly. Test us if you doubt. Karmoth smiled. It was not a kind smile. Very well. Tomorrow, you will participate in the traditional trials. All of you. If you pass, you prove that respect does not make you weak. If you fail, this ends. The traditional trials were tests of strength, courage, and skill. They were designed for cubs who trained every day in combat. The Respect Code cubs had been training in diplomacy and cooperation instead. After the elders left, the cubs gathered with their parents and teachers. We are not ready for the trials, one cub said. We will fail. Then we train, Dongsik said. We have tonight. We help each other. That is not how the trials work. A parent said. Each cub must succeed alone. Then we change the trials, Somin said. We ask permission to do them our way. They will never agree, Velmoth said. We have to try, Taejin insisted. Please, father. Help us ask. Velmoth looked at his cubs. Then he nodded. I will try. He went to Karmoth that evening. The conversation was long and heated, but in the end, Karmoth agreed to one change. The cubs could work in teams, but the challenges would be harder to compensate. The next day, every being on Threshold 7 gathered to watch. The trials were held in a large cargo bay that had been cleared and prepared. Obstacles were set up. Challenges were arranged. The cubs were divided into teams of 3. They faced physical tests, problem-solving challenges, and simulated combat scenarios. Hyunwoo watched from the crowd. Ji-won stood beside him, her hands clasped tight. Min-ho was recording everything. The first challenge was a climbing wall. Tall, steep, difficult. One cub in each team had to reach the top, while the others supported them. Taejin's team went first. He was the climber. Somin and Dongsik supported him from below, offering advice and encouragement. Please, try the left side, Somin called. It has more holds. Taejin shifted. He climbed. When he struggled, Dongsik called out. You are strong. You can do this. Taejin reached the top. The crowd cheered. Every team approached it differently, but all used cooperation. They asked for help. They offered encouragement. They said please and thank you, even in the middle of challenges. The combat simulation was hardest. The cubs faced holographic opponents that fought with Kethran techniques. They were fast, aggressive, and skilled. Yoonji's team worked together. One cub defended, while another attacked. The third looked for weaknesses. They communicated constantly. Please, watch my left side, one called. Thank you, I have it, another replied. They moved like they were connected, like they were one being with 3 bodies. It was beautiful and effective. When all the trials were done, the cubs stood before the elders, tired but proud. They had passed. Every single team had passed. Karmoth stood slowly. He looked at the cubs for a long moment. Then he looked at Velmoth, at Hyunwoo, at all the parents and teachers who had supported this change. You have proven something today, Karmoth said. You have proven that respect does not weaken warriors. It makes them stronger. You fight together, instead of alone. You use words when words work, and claws when claws are needed. This is wisdom. He turned to the other elders. I propose we bring the respect code to the homeworld. Let all Kethran cubs learn this way. Let us evolve. The other elders looked shocked. But slowly, they nodded. The crowd erupted in cheers. Cubs hugged each other. Parents cried. Even Karmoth smiled. Hyun-woo felt Ji-won's hand on his shoulder. "You did it," she said. "They did it," Hyun-woo corrected, pointing at the cubs. "I just said, please." That night, there was a celebration. Species from across the station came together. They ate. They laughed. They shared stories. And at the center of it all were the cubs, the respect code cubs who had changed their culture one word at a time. Taejin found Hyun-woo in the crowd. "Thank you," he said, "for teaching us." "Thank you for learning," Hyun-woo replied. "And for teaching me that change is possible when people are brave." The code was spreading now. To other stations. To the homeworld. To the future. And it all started with please. 10 years had passed like water flowing through open hands. Hyun-woo stood in the same observation deck where he had watched those first transport ships arrive. His hair had some gray in it now. His face had lines that were not there before. But his eyes were the same. Still kind. Still hopeful. The station had changed. Threshold 7 was 3 times larger than before. New sections had been built. More species came to trade, and talk, and live. And everywhere, in every corridor, you could hear cubs of different species saying please and thank you. The respect code had spread far beyond the Kethrans. Seo-jun walked up beside him. The young human was 23, fresh from Earth, assigned to be Hyun-woo's assistant. He carried a data pad and had questions in his eyes. "They are arriving soon," Seo-jun said. "The ceremony starts in an hour." "I know," Hyun-woo said. "I am ready." Today was important. The Kethran High Command was dedicating a monument to the first generation. To the 7 cubs who had started everything. Taejin, So-min, Dong-sik, and the others. They were adults now. Changed but still recognizable. In the main hall, preparations were nearly complete. A large stone had been carved with symbols. Kethran symbols and human symbols mixed together. At the top were 7 names written in both languages. Below that, 1 word in every language spoken on the station. "Please." Ji-won found Hyun-woo backstage. She was older, too. Her hair completely gray now. But she moved with the same energy she always had. "Can you believe it has been 10 years?" she asked. "Sometimes it feels like yesterday," Hyun-woo said. "Sometimes it feels like a lifetime." "Both are true," Ji-won said. She squeezed his hand. "We changed the galaxy, old friend. The cubs changed the galaxy. We just helped." Min-ho arrived carrying his ever-present datapad. He was a professor now, teaching at a university on Earth. But he came back to Threshold 7 for important events. "I finished the analysis," Min-ho said. "In the past 10 years, diplomatic incidents involving Kethrans have decreased by 84%. Trade agreements have increased by 200%. And cubs from 47 species now use courtesy language that did not exist before. 47. Numbers cannot capture what really changed," Ji-won said. "Hearts changed. Minds changed." "True," Min-ho agreed. "But the numbers help people understand the impact." The hall filled with beings from across the galaxy. Kethrans, of course, hundreds of them. But also Tillians, Hulians, Orinth, Hravians, and dozens of other species. They came to celebrate and remember. Commander Velmoth entered with his family. He was retired from active service now. But he still carried himself like a warrior. Beside him walked So-min and Taejin. They were tall and strong, fully grown. So-min wore the uniform of a Kethran diplomatic officer. Taejin wore the badge of a multi-species peacekeeping force. They saw Hyun-woo and came straight to him. So-min hugged him tightly. "Teacher," she said. That was what she called him now. Not Hyun-woo. "Teacher, you are not cubs anymore," Hyun-woo said, smiling. "Look at you. So grown up. We are what you made us," Taejin said. "No. You are what you made yourselves. Dong-sik arrived with his own family. He had 3 small cubs, the youngest barely walking. My little ones, he said proudly. They will never know a galaxy without the respect code. Other members of the first generation came. Unji, who now worked as a translator. Bo-ra, who taught at the learning center that Ji-won still ran. Jae-sung, who served in the Kethrin Council as the youngest member ever appointed. They gathered together, these adults who had been cubs when it all started. They laughed and shared memories. They talked about that first day, when a strange human taught them a strange word. The ceremony began. Karmoth, the elder who had tested them 10 years ago, stood at the podium. He was very old now, moving slowly, but his mind was sharp. 10 years ago, he said, his voice carrying through the hall, I came to this station believing that our cubs were being corrupted. I thought human influence would weaken us. I was wrong. He paused, letting the words settle. The respect code did not weaken us. It made us stronger. It allowed us to form alliances that our ancestors could never have imagined. It gave us a place in the galaxy not just as warriors, but as leaders, as diplomats, as friends. He gestured to the 7 adults standing together. These 7 had courage I did not have. They dared to change. They dared to be different. And because of them, every Kethrin cub now grows up, learning that strength and kindness are not opposites. They are partners. The crowd applauded. Kethrin claws clicking against the floor mixed with the clapping of hands and the various sounds of approval from other species. Velmoth spoke next. My daughter and son taught me more than I taught them. They showed me that being a good parent means allowing your cubs to become better than you were. The respect code is their legacy, but it is also our future. Then Somin stepped up to speak. She stood tall and confident, no longer the small cub who had been afraid to ask for water. When Hyunwoo first taught us the word please, I did not understand it. In our language, we had words for commands and words for formal address between warriors, but we had no word for asking with respect, no word that acknowledged another being's right to say no. She looked at Hyunwoo. That word opened a door. It showed us that there were other ways to be strong. And once we walked through that door, we found a whole galaxy waiting for us. Tae-jin spoke after his sister. The respect code is not just about saying please. It is about seeing others as equals even when we could dominate them. It is about choosing cooperation over conquest. It is about building instead of destroying. He turned to the crowd. In my work with the peacekeeping force, I work with species that our ancestors would have fought. Now we protect each other. We trust each other. And when conflicts arise, we use the tools of respect to solve them. This is the power of what we learned. This is the legacy. The monument was unveiled. It stood 3 meters tall, carved from Kethrin heartstone, a rare mineral from their homeworld. The names of the first generation were inscribed in gold. Below them, the word please, in 73 languages. Cubs from different species came forward, each placing a flower or token at the base. A small Kethrin cub, no more than 6, placed a toy carefully against the stone. She looked up at Tae-jin. When I grow up, I want to be like you, she said. I want to make peace. Tae-jin knelt down to her level. Then practice every day. Say please and thank you. Listen to others. Be strong and be kind. You can do both. The cub nodded seriously. Then she hugged him and ran back to her parents. After the ceremony, there was a reception. Hyunwoo found himself surrounded by beings from across the galaxy, all wanting to thank him. He felt uncomfortable with the attention. I really did not do much, he kept saying. I just taught a word. Hae-won, the human ambassador who was also older now, laughed at that. You taught the right word at the right time to the right beings. That is not nothing. That is everything. A group of Kethrin scholars approached. They had questions about the early days. about how he had developed the teaching methods. Hyun-woo answered as best he could. But the truth was simple. He had just treated the cubs with respect. He had just been kind. Seo-jun watched his mentor with admiration. Later, when they had a quiet moment, he asked, "How did you know it would work? How did you know that one word could change so much?" Hyun-woo thought about this. "I did not know. I hoped. But I believed that every being, no matter what species, wants to be respected, wants to be seen. Please is just a way of showing that we see each other, that we matter to each other." "Do you think it will last?" Seo-jun asked. "Or will future generations forget?" "They will remember," Ji-won said, joining them. "Because it is not just a word anymore. It is woven into their culture. It is in their language, their customs, their hearts. That does not just disappear," Minho added. "And the children of the first generation are teaching their cubs. It is being passed down. That is how culture works. That is how change becomes permanent." That evening, Hyun-woo walked through the station alone. He liked to do this sometimes. Just walk and observe. He saw Kethrin cubs playing with Julian cubs. He saw a young Tillian asking a Kethrin adult for help, saying please, and the adult responding with kindness. He passed the learning center. Through the window, he saw Ji-won teaching a mixed group of cubs. They were laughing together, working on a project together. He could not hear the words, but he knew they were using please and thank you. It was automatic now. Natural. In a quiet corridor, he found Velmoth standing alone, looking out a window at the stars. "Commander," Hyun-woo said softly. Velmoth turned. "Hyun-woo, come, stand with me." They stood together in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Velmoth spoke. "I never thanked you properly. For what you gave my cubs. For what you gave all of us. You have thanked me many times. Words are not enough. You saved us. Our species was becoming isolated. Other species feared us but did not trust us. We were powerful but alone. You showed us another path. The cubs showed you the path." I just pointed. Velmoth smiled. "Always so humble. But I know the truth. Without you, So-min and Taejin would be like I was. Strong, but rigid. Powerful, but limited. Now they are more. They are better. They are exactly who they were meant to be," Hyun-woo said. "I am honored to have known them as cubs. I am honored to know them as adults." They watched a ship depart from the station, its engines glowing bright before it jumped to faster-than-light travel. "Where do we go from here?" Velmoth asked. "What is the next step?" "The next step is already happening," Hyun-woo said. "Other species are creating their own versions of the respect code. They are taking the idea and making it their own. That is how it should be. This was never about making everyone human. It was about sharing something valuable and letting others build on it." "And you? What will you do?" Hyun-woo smiled. "I will keep teaching. There is always more to learn. Always more to share." A young Kethrin cub ran past them, chasing a ball. She stopped when she saw Velmoth. "Excuse me, please, sir. Did you see where my ball went?" Velmoth pointed down the corridor. "That way, little one. Thank you," she called, running after it. Velmoth watched her go. She does not even think about it. Please is just how she speaks. How all cubs speak now. "That is how you know it worked," Hyun-woo said. "When it becomes invisible. When it is just normal." They stood together a while longer. Then Velmoth put a hand on Hyun-woo's shoulder. It was a gesture of deep respect among Kethrins. "Thank you, teacher. For everything. You are welcome, friend. For everything." Hyun-woo returned to his quarters late that night. He sat at his desk and looked at the photo he had brought with him 10 years ago. His family on Earth. They were older now, in newer photos. But he kept this one because it reminded him of when he started. He pulled out his journal and began to write. He wrote about the ceremony, about seeing the cubs all grown up, about the monument and the speeches. But mostly, he wrote about hope. 10 years ago, I taught a word to two cubs. Today, that word has become a bridge connecting species across the galaxy. I did not do this alone. Ji-Wan, Min-Ho, Velmoth, and so many others helped. But most of all, the cubs themselves did the work. They were brave enough to change. They were strong enough to be kind. That is the real lesson. That is the legacy. Not please, but the courage to respect each other. The wisdom to see that we are stronger together than apart. I hope that 100 years from now, beings will still say please to each other. Not because they remember where it came from, but because they cannot imagine a galaxy without it. That would be the greatest success. When respect becomes so natural that we forget it ever had to be taught. When kindness is just the way things are. I think we are close. I think the cubs are showing us the way. And I am grateful, so grateful, to have been part of their journey, to have said please and watched the galaxy change. He closed the journal. Outside his window, the stars burned bright. Ships came and went. The galaxy turned, and on Threshold 7, cubs of 70 species slept peacefully, dreaming of a future where respect was the foundation of everything. It had started with a simple word. It had become a revolution. And it was only the beginning.